Coming up, a look at the far-off planet of Pandora at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Disney presents Beyond the Kingdoms. Today's episode of Beyond the Kingdoms is proudly sponsored by SmallWorldVacations.com, authorized Disney vacation planners. Their team of knowledgeable agents have been creating the magic for over 20 years, and they can book your next trip to Walt Disney World. Just visit their website to get a free quote. Small World Vacations, where the magic begins. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's main show of Beyond the Kingdoms. Like always, I'm your host David, and today we're taking a trip back to Disney's Animal Kingdom to revisit Pandora, the world of Avatar. If you're new to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so that you never miss an episode. But let's not waste any more time and jump right into exploring Pandora. The original 2009 film is set in the mid-22nd century and follows the story of Jake Sully, an ex-Marine who is given the opportunity to travel to Pandora to fill in the shoes of his scientist brother who sadly had already passed away. Now, despite being stuck to a wheelchair, he is almost given a whole new life when he joins Dr. Grace Augustine's Avatar program, a scientific research team attached to the RDA mining facility. Sully and the team get to transport themselves into these human Na'vi hybrids and explore the ways of the Na'vi people, who have a very sacred bond and relationship with both the land and the creatures found throughout the planet. Of course, things go south when the RDA decides to destroy the natural habitats of the planet to mine for more unobtainium. In the end, Jake and his newly trusted position in the clan are caught in a battle with the RDA's military team. You can watch the movie to see how it ends, but aside from being a great story, the film introduced the world to this fictional planet rich with interesting creatures and plant life that are truly breathtaking. Now, when you visit Pandora at Disney's Animal Kingdom, the story is set many generations after the events seen in the film. So the good news is you don't really have to watch the movie to understand what's going on, but it does help. The complicated history and events between the Na'vi people and the RDA have had a profound effect on the planet. Now, the Pandora Conservation Initiative have stationed themselves on the planet and repurposed the old RDA facilities, and they play an important role in the habitat restoration of Pandora. And the travel company Alpha Centauri Expeditions have joined forces with the initiative to take humans from Earth to this alien planet, providing exciting adventure tours that focus on conservation and the natural beauty of this planet. In many ways, the inclusion of Pandora at Animal Kingdom is perhaps the best example of how Imagineers have chosen the perfect film franchise to match a theme park. I think part of the success of this land is because the themes of the film and the themes of the park go hand in hand beautifully. But the choice by Disney to not base the experiences in the land firmly in the timeline of the film, but instead long after the events in the story, will give this land longevity, despite how successful future Avatar films are. Throughout the Exploring Animal Kingdom series, I've shared with you many real-world landmarks that have inspired the architecture and design of the different lands inside the park. But Pandora is distinctly different, since it is a fictional place dreamed up by James Cameron and his film franchise. However, Pandora has a very clever way of incorporating a real-world aesthetic mixed in with ingenious Imagineering. Some of Disney's best Imagineering can be witnessed the minute you enter the land and look up at the amazing floating mountains of Moara. These massive rocks floating high in the sky defy gravity, and it's a breathtaking scene to enjoy. Words really can't describe it. But as usual, I love to look closer at the smaller things, because this land is probably the most intricate land in Disney World. Everywhere you turn, you'll see fascinating details. To the impressive plant life, to the repurposed buildings left behind by the RDA. Everywhere you look, there is something new to explore. It's really hard to decipher sometimes where the real plants end and the fake ones begin. The two are blended together seamlessly. But let me highlight for you some of my favorites. This is the spiny whip. It has the really bizarre pink tentacles spiraling out at the top. Now the top half of this plant has a cup shape to it and collects raindrops. Various birds and other flying species use this plant as a source of water, away from the larger pools which may have some predatory creatures swimming inside. These guys are called vein pods. They can be found at the base of the floating mountains right next to the waterfalls. Apparently, these pods help detoxify the atmosphere on Pandora, maintaining stability in the environment. And they look really cool at night when they give off this nice green glow. Finally, we have my favorite plant of them all, the GRINCH tree. This is perhaps one of the more dramatic trees and can be found throughout the entire land. But I like this small hill looking up towards the mountains. The twisted trunk and thorny leaves may look intense, but the GRINCH tree also gives off a subtle glow of light at night with its bioluminescent leaves. It's dramatic and breathtaking at the same time. A great way to learn more about the plant life and species found on Pandora is to meet the Pandora Rangers. And this moves us to the entertainment lineup in this land. The Pandora Rangers were added back in 2018. Sometimes you may just have some roaming rangers on foot teaching guests more about the planet, but one of my favorites is to meet the Pandora Ranger marching around on the exocarrier utility suit. This is a sort of modified version of the AMP suit used by the military in the film. These Pandora Rangers come out several times a day, piloting this massive 10-foot tall suit and meeting guests along the way. They are technically conducting research and studying the planet, and they use the suit to travel through the more tough and extreme terrain. The Pandora Rangers will obviously interact with guests, but they don't sign autographs or really pose for pictures. But it's a fun mini show to see. The Pandora Rangers come out up to 10 times a day, usually every hour on the hour from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But for more musical entertainment, make sure you check out the Pandora Drummers. These guys perform in their drum circle, located just a few steps away from the entrance of Na'vi River Journey. Guests can play on the drums all day, but every hour or so, a trio of artists come out and teach guests about the musical traditions of the Na'vi. As they perform their musical numbers, they will pull guests up to play along on the drums, and if you're lucky, you may summon the Banshees off in the distance. This is a good show for the little ones to enjoy who are too small to ride Flight of Passage. If you and your family are doing rider swap at the attraction, one parent can take the little one to see this mini show just to keep them entertained. Like the Pandora Rangers, the drummers perform several times a day, usually every hour, starting at 9:30 a.m. and going well into the night, sometimes as late as 8:30 p.m. Now, taking some extra time to go shopping in Pandora is a must. The land features one main store, Wind Traders, and sells exclusive Pandora merchandise. On a recent visit, I've noticed they've expanded their range of real plant life that you can purchase and take home. I know it's not a very practical gift to take back on a plane, but I just found it really cool that they sell real plants that look just like some of the alien plants found here in Pandora. It's unique and something different. Now, the store does sell a tremendous amount of toys, collectibles, and apparel. But there are obviously two major highlights that I want to talk about today. First of all, we have the Adopt a Banshee program. The good news here is that the lines have dramatically decreased since opening day. I remember throughout the first few months, the line was out the door for fans to get their hands on one of these creatures, and they quickly sold out within the first week. But now stock levels are very even, and you can even get a Banshee at other locations throughout the park. And there's usually no line at all inside Wind Traders. But this is the better place for the kids to shop at because you get the full experience. Guests can pick their very own baby Banshee from the rookery to take home. But remember, you'll have to take an oath to protect the creatures. The Banshee alone can perform all types of movements and can sit on your shoulder comfortably. For an additional cost, you can also buy a perch to display it at home. Sadly, given the high demand for these guys, the price has gone up since opening day. A Banshee alone now costs $59.99. That's up from the $49.99 price tag when it originally debuted. The display perch is an extra $25, bringing the whole thing up to $84.99. However, there is a deal here. You can get a box set of both the Banshee and the perch and get $25 off. The kicker is that not all of the colors are available in the box set. The second unique merchandise item here is the Avatar Maker. This is where guests can have their faces scanned and take home their very own avatar doll that looks just like them. There is a reservation process that you can only do on the day, but usually there's not much of a line here, and you can just walk up and get your face scanned immediately. However, it does take time for the doll to be printed, so the best thing to do is to do the face scanning first and come back later, maybe after riding Flight of Passage, to pick up your doll out of this machine here. Now this experience is a little bit more expensive than the Banshees because these are in fact customized figures. It will cost $79.99 for just the basic doll. You can also purchase additional clothing and accessories, and each set is priced at about $14.99. If these two premium items are just too much for you, don't worry. There are plenty of other items you can purchase here at a better price. There's a more basic Banshee toy you can get, and I personally like the new utility suit figure that matches the Rangers seen outside. Either way, this is a very unique store, well worth a stop. Now in this week's Foodie Friday video, I shared with you my favorite snacks and drinks available in this land. But today, I want to do a quick overview of the delicious food you can enjoy in Pandora. Pongu Pongu is the land's main snack cart. It's located near the entrance of Wind Traders and behind that giant utility suit I mentioned earlier. Pongu Pongu means party party in Na'vi. And this snack stand used to be an old watering hole used by the RDA, but now it's enjoyed by Earthlings visiting the planet. It's open almost all day, usually from park opening time to closing time. Originally, it sold mainly beverages, both alcoholic and non, along with the signature snack here, the Pongu Lumpia. Now that Satu'li Canteen doesn't offer breakfast, Pongu Pongu is the one place in this land to grab food in the morning hours, which is helpful if you plan on rope dropping the park. For breakfast, it's a simple menu of snacks that include a sausage and egg biscuit, French toast sticks, and all the signature drinks, including the Night Blossom. In my opinion, if you arrive to the park well before it opens because you couldn't score a fast pass for Flight of Passage, get in that line first, experience the ride, and grab a snack here right after. But I'll have more tips on that later. Let's next move to Satu'li Canteen. I love this quick service restaurant. It's one of my favorites in all of Walt Disney World. The story here goes that it used to be a cafeteria for the RDA. Now, it's a canteen for everyone visiting Pandora, but also features an array of Na'vi artifacts. Dotted around the dining room, you'll find intricately woven baskets and decor that showcases the beautiful work done by the natives. This is where you can really see the finer details executed by the Imagineers. But let's talk about the food. The menu is very simple here, but what I love about it is that you can customize things in dozens of different ways. Essentially, there are different bowls you can enjoy. You pick your main protein like beef, chicken, shrimp, or even tofu. Then you get to choose your base between noodles, rice and beans, salad, or a sweet potato hash. Then you pick your sauce to go on top between a green onion or black bean vinaigrette or a creamy herb sauce. I love these bowls so much because they're very fresh and the roasted meat is delicious. This is seriously one of the best quick service restaurants you'll enjoy. There's also an impressive amount of options here if you have food allergies. When you choose to do the mobile order experience here, you'll see that there are plenty of options that are gluten, egg, dairy-free, and so much more. Another reason I think this place is a hit is because it accommodates everybody. Like I said before, breakfast is sadly no longer served here. Satu'li Canteen is only open for lunch and dinner, but it usually opens pretty early at 10:30 a.m. So it's still a good place to eat after rope dropping the attractions. If you're on the Disney dining plan, I highly recommend using a meal credit here because you'll find it's great bang for your buck. Finally, we arrive to the attractions, the reason everyone comes to visit Pandora. This land features two very different rides that are some of Disney's most impressive. Admittedly, Flight of Passage far exceeding Na'vi River Journey. But let's start with the boat ride. If for some reason you don't get to spend a whole lot of time in the evening hours in this land because you want to score a good seat for Rivers of Light, Na'vi River Journey is a fantastic way to witness the bioluminescent forest. The entrance of this attraction sports a beautifully woven statue representing the shaman of songs. But once inside, this slow-moving boat ride takes guests far into the forest at night. As you turn the corner, you may see a viper wolf off in the distance, or the fan lizard spinning up above, and even the hexapede jumping out of the bushes. And as you slowly travel further, you'll begin to notice members of the tribe chanting and traveling towards the sacred shaman of songs. This 10-foot tall spiritual leader of the tribe will be found towards the end of the ride chanting sacred songs. She is Disney's most impressive audio animatronic. Na'vi River Journey is a beautiful ride, but I must admit it is very short. You'll probably leave the attraction craving for more. When choosing a FastPass Plus, you have to choose between this and Flight of Passage, and I will always tell you to book Flight because it always has a much longer line. Chances are, though, that you may not get a FastPass for Flight of Passage, meaning you'll be stuck having to choose Na'vi. But I will say this. It's not uncommon for this attraction to have a 60 to 90 minute wait, sometimes even more. As beautiful as it is, the ride is certainly not worth waiting that long of a wait, so the FastPass does work well here. I only ever ride this attraction with a FastPass when I couldn't get Flight or towards the end of the night. I've been in Pandora for the last hour of the day in the past and was able to ride Na'vi twice in a row without waiting in line at all. But I know you're all waiting to hear about Flight of Passage, arguably Disney's best attraction at the moment. I am not one to wait in line for anything longer than 45 minutes, but Flight of Passage is the one time I will make an exception to the rule, because it is simply that amazing. The queue alone is an experience well worth enjoying. As you approach the attraction, you'll see the arched rockwork off in the distance. This is very similar to the rock formations seen over the Tree of Souls in the film. The exterior of the queue will allow you to see more plant life up close, but things get really interesting once you get inside. While zigzagging through a cave, you'll see beautiful paintings on the walls, presumably that have been there for centuries. Then you transition through an overgrown forest at night. This is another great chance to see the bioluminescent forest if you don't get to spend too much time outside in the evening hours. Then you get to my favorite section, the science lab. This is where you'll see that massive Avatar animatronic in the tank. This is probably one of the most impressive scenes you'll see while visiting Pandora. The first time I saw this, my mouth just fell to the floor. Shortly after that, you'll make your way to the link chambers. And during the pre-show, you'll learn more about the adventure you're about to embark on, flying on the back of a Banshee. After this pre-show, you'll be escorted to the link bikes in individual rooms. And from there, you'll travel high in the sky through the floating mountains of Pandora. You'll smell the crisp ocean air and feel the Banshee breathing in between your legs. Words simply don't do this attraction justice. If you're concerned about fitting inside the link chair, there is a test seat outside the ride's entrance. It's worth sitting in to get an idea of what the experience will feel like. If you're prone to motion sickness, I will say that this is one of the smoothest simulator attractions you'll ever experience. The movement is not too intense. It's somewhere between the ease and comfort of soaring around the world, with a few bumps along the way like Star Tours. Like I said, this is Disney's best attraction right now in Florida. Well worth the wait and simply a must-do on your next vacation. But here are some tips before you leave your hotel. Of course, the best way to experience this is with a FastPass Plus reservation. If you're staying at a Disney hotel, wake up bright and early on that 60-day mark to your trip, so you can score your FastPass. And remember, at 60 days before your trip, you can book FastPasses for the entire vacation. So I would schedule Pandora towards the end of your trip, just to have a slight edge over other people. The only downside to doing FastPass Plus here is that you'll miss almost all of the queue, including that Avatar tank, but it's up to you on how to use FastPass. If you're not staying at a Disney hotel, chances are you won't be able to score a FastPass Plus at the 30-day mark to your trip, unless you're visiting during a slower season. If this is the case, definitely get a FastPass for Na'vi because that queue is very boring and the ride is short, and like I said, not worth the hour-long wait. And plan to do Flight of Passage standby at either the very beginning of the day or the end of the night. My preference is to visit the land for the last hour or 90 minutes of the day. I usually save getting on Flight of Passage to about 30 minutes before closing time, when the wait time has gone down a little bit. However, it probably will still be at least at 90 minutes. I prefer this method so I don't have to wake up super early and stress out about getting to the park on time. The only downside to this technique is that you may have to skip on Rivers of Light. And finally, if you are a rope drop person, make sure you rope drop properly and don't get swept up in the drama. I recently visited the park when it had a 9 a.m. opening time and no extra magic hours. I arrived at the front gate at 8:30 a.m. and to my surprise, the park was open and letting guests inside, purely to start forming a line for Flight of Passage. To be clear, the stores and all the other attractions weren't even open yet. If you do this, don't be shocked or overwhelmed when you notice that the standby line wraps the entire land and out towards Africa. This is probably because cast members have decided to let guests into the park to form a line in an orderly fashion, but the building itself is not open yet. Hence why the line is outside. Believe me, that queue can easily hold a 3-hour wait completely indoors. But in the morning before the doors open, the line has to form outside. So on my trip by 9:05 a.m., I found myself walking through the exterior portion of the queue and then inside, heading straight to the long ramps before the pre-show, completely skipping the science lab. Again, I think this was purely to allow traffic flow. I was on the ride and out by 9:30 a.m., with the rest of the day at Animal Kingdom at my fingertips. By that time, I double-checked the wait time for Flight of Passage, and it had already reached a 2-hour wait. So moral of the story is, get there very early or save it for last. Don't waste precious time in the middle of the day. Animal Kingdom has so many other exciting attractions to experience. As the sun sets on Pandora and the bioluminescent plants come to life, we reach the end of our tour today. Pandora remains to be an unforgettable experience filled with beauty and excitement. And the evening hours are just as stunning. But with that, this really does complete the Exploring Animal Kingdom series. If you want to see what each and every land has to offer, check out this playlist. You'll get full tours of Africa, Asia, Dinoland, and Discovery Island. On next week's main show of Beyond the Kingdoms, we take a look at one of Disney's hotels, relaunching the Best Disney Hotel Room series. And first up, we're taking it back to basics with a look at the All-Star Hotels. But with that, my friends, I am out of time and want to thank you for tuning in this week here at Beyond the Kingdoms. Have a great Sunday, and remember, if you can dream it, you can do it.